deflating, embarrassing, fireable. Those are just some of the adjectives to use to describe the Saints' loss to the Broncos on Thursday night. We're going to talk all about it and why it is officially time for the Saints to make changes. Not in a couple weeks from now, not a couple of months from now, tomorrow. Let's talk about it right here on the Straight Up Saints podcast.
You're listening to the Straight Up Saints podcast.
What is up, Who Dat Nation? Welcome back inside another edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast. I'm your host, Chris Rizoglu, and we're inside the Scott McNair studios for this edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast. Just got over from the Dome, and let's just say it wasn't a fun time. 33-10. That 10 is meaningless. The Saints had a garbage touchdown at the end, and there's so much to talk about. And I know we can talk about Dennis Allen. We can talk about the quarterback play, the injuries, all that. Let's start off with the basics here on the Straight Up Saints podcast presented by Scott McNair Injury Lawyers. Who've been injured in any kind of accident, car, truck, 18-wheeler, or hurt offshore. Scott McNair handles it all. You give him a call at 504-500-1111 for a free consultation. They'll always fight for the win. Now, while Scott McNair will fight for the win, the Saints aren't fighting for any wins right now. They've lost 5 in a row, and I think tonight was the culmination of everything that's gone wrong for this team. And I know there's a bigger problem. It's not just Dennis Allen. I think the Saints, from just a managerial standpoint, have been very lazy, but enough is enough to have teams go into the Dome, despite not being ultra-talented, and just set the tone from a physicality perspective, move you off the line of scrimmage. It is embarrassing. I swear to God, watching this game tonight, it didn't matter if you watched it on TV or you watched it in the Dome. I think the Broncos could have gone the entire game without throwing a single pass, and they would have been fine because they dictate the run, and the Saints can't do a damn thing on offense. And look, you want to say it's not all on DA, fine, but it's the same old crap. And what I saw tonight was a team that legitimately quit on their head coach. Legitimately, whether it's the missed tackles, lack of effort, looking dejected on the sideline. There were guys out there just pretty much walking around. And it's not like it was a random game at noon on Sunday. This is prime time. Everyone is looking at your team. You're the only freaking NFL game on. And this is the performance you put out there at 2-4 going into this game against your former coach. Your former coach left you. He said, man, I don't like this situation anymore. I'm going to take a year off, and then I'm going to go find a cozy new job the year after that. And that guy comes back into your building on Drew Brees night, and you put out this pathetic performance where at one point it was 33-3. The only fans left in the stadium outside of me and a couple of other Saints fans were Broncos diehards who had a Let's Go Broncos chant going on. And this is what we're left with. Drew Brees gets honored, and your former coach comes back into your house, and you put out a pathetic showing. And for me, you could say, oh, you do this every week, Chris. You complain about Dennis Allen. Yeah, I do. But I'm also fair. I said I'd give Dennis Allen another chance to prove me wrong and say that he could be a head coach and that he could get this team on the right track. But we know he can. And the facts are now in front of us. I cannot believe that the Saints continue to allow this, but tonight has to be the tipping point to get blown out by a Broncos team that isn't that good, doesn't have a lot of pop, no explosive plays, was missing their best defensive player, to get just absolutely demolished. It never felt like a game. It never felt like a game. It didn't matter how bad Bo Nix was in the first half. It did not matter. And there's so many things Dennis Allen did during this game that were laughable. Like, how about Kendra Miller getting an 8-yard carry and then them going, put him back in the doghouse. We don't want to use Kendra Miller. Or better yet, how about Dennis Allen calling a timeout with 4 seconds left in the first half just to knee the ball the next play, and Spencer Rattler gets caught on camera saying, what the fuck are we doing? When your rookie quarterback, who's only 2 starts into his NFL career, has no idea what the hell is going on and can't fathom why his coach is that stupid, we got a problem, folks. We got a problem. I don't think guys want to play for Dennis Allen anymore. And at 2-5, these players tonight look like they were ready for the offseason. It's week 7. They still got 10 more fucking games to go against really good teams. Got to play the Chargers. You got to play the Packers. Got to play the Commanders. Got to play the Falcons. Got to play the Bucks. And they look checked out from now. So I think that this is just embarrassing from this team. And for Dennis Allen, I don't know how it could be defended anymore. I'm sure that there'll be press conferences tonight and a press conference on Saturday, and they'll talk about what they can fix and how you have to look beyond the results, but I'm not buying it. We saw a team that legitimately quit on Dennis Allen, and it's over. There's nothing you can convince us fans to believe that this man will get this program back on the right track. There's just absolutely no way for it. So I think that this is just an utter embarrassment. And I think for them, it's not just a tipping point for your head coach. I think it's a tipping point for the roster. I believe that this roster has to start looking at being sellers. That means moving on from Lattimore, moving on from maybe DeMario, who, by the way, had maybe his worst performance as a Saint player today. I think moving on from Alvin wouldn't be a bad idea. So I think there's so many moves the Saints can make in terms of shedding some of these veterans and moving on and getting some draft picks, while understanding you have to reset your cap space. So right now, I'm so dejected as a fan, and it has nothing to do with the fact that it was the Drew Brees night or Sean Payton's return. Just the fact that we're watching such a lifeless, pathetic product every single week. And then when you think, oh, you look towards a leader to give you something of value and have a fiery post-game press conference or some type of speech during the week, instead you get told you got to look beyond the results. Well, Mickey, what do you want us to look beyond the results? Dennis, what do you want us to look beyond the results? You are now 2-5. You are giving over 200 rushing yards per game at this rate. You are getting absolutely demolished every single week, and it's not going to get better. It doesn't matter who they play. This is a bad team. So you got to fire Dennis Allen tomorrow morning, and I could not be more serious about this. I'm supposed to be on a little bit of a mini vacation the next 2-3 days. I don't care if Dennis Allen gets fired. I will be here to have a live stream for 2-3 hours, as many as we need to have, as long as the Saints make the right move to fire him. But after you fire him, then you got to start selling off some of these vets. You got to move on and understand that it's over. The heyday for this team is gone. You got to find out what is worth keeping, and you got to get rid of what's not working at this point. And you also need a quarterback. I don't want to rip too much into Spencer Rattler today because he's not the main reason why they lost. But pocket awareness is absolutely zero. And if this team is picking top 5, go get your quarterback. So that brings me to my last point before I get into what I want to talk about with you guys and get into all your comments, because I'm sure you guys have a lot to say about this god-awful loss that just happened. I think for New Orleans, we got to start wondering, what is the future? Like, what can us Saints fans look forward to? Because they don't have a great quarterback room. They have the worst head coach in the NFL. They have no cap space at the moment. Their exciting young players are either on the defensive side of a unit that is just playing like crap right now, or they're injured. Taysom Hill injured, Chris Olave injured, Eric McCoy injured. So none of that is working. And I didn't even add today, Paulson Adebo suffered what's probably a season-ending injury. So nothing is going right for this team. And I know it sounds annoying to be so pessimistic right now. You get towards, 11 at night, the last thing you want to hear is someone kind of just crapping all over your favorite team. And it's the last thing I want to do. But I think we really have to start having this discussion. How long is it going to take the Saints to get the wheels back on the track? Because they don't have that leader right now in the front office, in the ownership group, at head coach. And they need to find that program builder. And I know a lot of people are saying you can fire DA. It's not going to solve everything. And to a certain extent, I 1000% agree with you guys, but they got to start somewhere, and they got to be able to bring in a program builder, because right now, all we're looking at is a team that week by week is slowly becoming the worst team in the NFL. And it breaks my heart to see this type of this outlook and this product out there. But guys, they have given up 84 points at home in the last 2 games. 84 points at home in the last 2 games for a team that is led by a defensive head coach. So right now, there's no hope. Hope will come again someday. I have zero doubt about that. The NFL is cyclical. You never know when you're going to get back on the horse, but you will at some point. But right now, there's nothing for us to look forward to other than more losses, unless they get rid of Dennis Allen. Maybe they'll kind of rejuvenate this squad, but this is a lifeless team. And I think that's the one adjective that I will continue to use, because there is no heart out there. And I just think it's going to get worse. I truly believe it's going to get worse until they fire Dennis Allen. And then there'll be a start, but then the pressure shifts over to the front office, because they'll have to make that move and bring in the right guy. So before I get into what you guys want to talk about in your comments, because I know we got a whole lot, and I can't wait to see what you guys have to say. I just want to remind you that we will get the super chats in first, and then we'll get everyone's comments, but I'll try to get everyone on the board here. Make sure to like the video and subscribe because we will have more content, and who knows, maybe we'll have content tomorrow if the Saints fire Dennis Allen. So fingers crossed. But before we do all of that and get your comments, I want to get a quick word from one of our sponsors, Scott McNair.
And Jonathan Williams brings it all the way back from the 20-yard line.
What a terrific way to end the first half.
And tonight's game is brought to you by Scott McNair Injury Attorneys. They always fight for the win.
You mean attorney? It's one lawyer. Scott McNair?
No, there's two.
Brad Scott and David McNair.
Well, it's confusing.
That it is. They could have picked a better name.
Scott McNair, Injury Attorneys, we fight for the win.
Once again, thank you to Scott McNair for being part of the program. And as I mentioned before, we are recording from the Scott McNair studio, which, by the way, is just absolutely gorgeous. So without further ado, I know I've been kind of yapping for the last 10 minutes. I know you guys all have a lot to say about the Saints. So we'll get into your comments here right now on the Straight Up Saints podcast and bring us to our fan Q&A presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere. Nothing runs like a deer. We're going to start off with some super chats. And just remember, if you guys have any super chats, we'll get to those and then we'll get to the rest of the comments. We're going to start with Half-Life here, a $6 super chat. Thank you so much for the support. Says, I need to start seeing that glorious shirt of yours, hashtag fire Dennis Allen. So I actually have my fire Dennis Allen shirt back at home. I guess I have to break it out. There was a fire Dennis Allen chant at the Dome today. And maybe I shouldn't admit this, but I will. I was a part of that chant. I did not start the chant. It happened in my section, and I decided, you know what? I will join. But it is time. I know we've been saying for the last year that they have to fire him. I do believe this was the tipping point to finally getting towards, all right, you know what? Changes have to be made because you just got embarrassed in your own house by your former coach on a night where we're all supposed to sit here and talk about what was a really beautiful ceremony for Drew Brees, and the fan atmosphere was tremendous. Unfortunately, outside of that ceremony, you gave your fans nothing to cheer for. So I will bring that shirt back. Do not worry about it. Got another super chat here from Mike. Says, might as well give Kubiak a trial run at head coach as interim. Give Kubiak a trial run or Darren Rizzi. My vote's been Rizzi, to be honest. And the reason I say that is Rizzi has been a head coach candidate before. And I think there's a lot of guys in that Saints locker room who love and respect him. And special teams have been the one thing that really hasn't screwed the Saints tremendously this year. I'm not knocking Kubiak, but I think Kubiak has to learn also how to adjust as an OC. So to add interim coach to his plate, I feel like that's a lot. And look, could it work? Maybe, yeah. I mean, the NFL is unpredictable, but I would go with Rizzi if we're going to give a guy an interim trial run. That would be my pick, in my opinion. Jay Hoodie with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much for the support. Says the Saints should do right by Kamara and trade him to contender. It's time to trade our vets and get picks. We are the worst team currently, and it's time to embrace that. I agree. I think the one guy that should have trade value definitely is Marshawn Lattimore. I don't care if it is Baltimore. I don't care if it's Washington. Anyone who needs a cornerback and feels like this is the year to make a run, and there will be teams that feel that way, go get Marshawn. Maybe it's a second. Worst case, it's a third-round pick. That third-round pick you're going to need. And I love Marshawn Lattimore. I got nothing but respect for Marshawn Lattimore. 23 has been the best cornerback in Saints history in terms of talent. I don't think there's a question about that. But what is he going to do for this team right now, right? They can't play offense. They can't protect the quarterback. They can't run the football. They can't stop the run. That's their biggest deficiency. Their head coach doesn't know what day it is. I don't think Lattimore is going to save anything there. So I agree with you. Get rid of Lattimore. Alvin, I think there's two reasons why you got to get rid of Alvin. A, you're not bringing him back after this year. They could say whatever they want. I think if they wanted to re-sign Alvin, they would have done it already. Just trade him somewhere where he can be useful and get some, actual playoff football back in his system. You could still get a draft asset back for him. You're not going to keep him. And let's see what Kendrick Miller has, man. Look, I know Kendrick Miller played in garbage time, but Kendrick Miller is the only running back that had some juice today, Alvin had 1.4 yards per carry, not knocking Alvin, but 1.4 yards per carry. Kendrick Miller had 6. So I'd like to see what Kendrick can do in a little bit of an extended role. So we'll see. Geo Giant with a super chat says, are we running them to death at practice? I have no idea what they're doing at practice because Dennis Allen said they had a really good week of practice. Dennis Allen said they worked on tackling. Dennis Allen said that he feels like this team is close. They're not close. And if they are close, they're closer to picking number 1 than they are winning a damn game. They're not improving their tackling. That just keeps getting worse. So a lot of bad, just a lot of bad. And I don't know what they're doing at practice. All I know is they're getting injured at practice. Olave, Pete Werner, This week was Colin Saunders at practice. So who the hell knows what's going on? Justin with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much for the support. Justin says, I can't watch this team anymore until DA is gone. I'm 23 and I've been a fan since I was 8, but I'm done. Infinitely worse than the 7 and 9 years. Love you, Chris. Well, first off, love you too, Justin. So thank you for the support. I greatly appreciate that. You guys are awesome. As for watching this team, look, I'm going to be watching this team every week, and it has nothing to do with the podcast. I obviously, it's part of my job, but I genuinely do love this team no matter what. And there are so many highs in life that I've experienced being a fan of this team that you just don't throw it out. That said, and I mentioned this comment last year, so I'm going to bring it back. I said the New Orleans Saints have reached a point where I will never blame fans if they decide to check out, because you know what? Life is hard, and we got so much shit going on in life outside of football, whether you got to take care of personal matters, family matters, work matters. So if you don't have time to invest 4 hours into your Sunday to watch your favorite team lose and their head coach give you a bullshit comment in the postgame, how can I blame you, right? We're all human. We all got stuff to do outside of that. So I will never blame Saints fans if they want to disconnect for a little bit. I won't. I'm never going to disconnect from this team, but I will never blame Saints fans for feeling that way. I don't care whether you're 23, 43, 53, 13. If that's how you feel, go for it. Just know, and people might disagree, you are always welcome back. The Who Dat Nation's a big family, and I think that you saw it tonight, pregame and halftime ceremony. This crowd is still the best crowd in the NFL, and when you give them a reason to celebrate and party, they're going to throw a damn great party. Unfortunately, we're not getting much on the field with that product. Got a super chat here from Blair, says, should have fired DA's ass when he apologized to Atlanta. They should have. Instead, we mentioned Chuck Noll's record, Bill Belichick's record, Tom Landry's record, and we talked about how you can't just look at the wins and losses, which, let me tell you something. You don't look at wins and losses for quarterbacks, because if you look at Drew Brees in 2014, 2015, 2016, he was arguably the best quarterback in the league, but the Saints weren't winning games because QB's win-loss is not a QB stat. But win-loss is very well a coach stat, because that's the one thing that coaches look at the end of the day. Did you win or did you lose? So stop telling us Saints fans it's not about the results when we know damn well it is about the results. It's all that matters when you're the head coach. So damn disappointing that we've reached this point. So let's get into more comments here. I'm sure you guys have a lot. Let's get into them. Eric says, man, we are back to the Mike Ditka days. We are, but I wish you didn't say it, but you're not wrong. Jack says, I'm just happy that this Sunday is a non-Saints Sunday so we can enjoy our Sunday. Yeah, that's true. Go do what makes you happy, whether that is going out shopping, whether that's spending some time with the family. It's fall. Maybe that's pumpkin picking. You got to do anything other than watch the Saints lose this Sunday. So that is a big thumbs up. Big thumbs up. For me, probably go to the movies or something. I don't know. I'll find something to do. I don't know if I can rewatch this. I always rewatch Saints games after. I don't know if I could stomach rewatching this one. It was that freaking bad. Jack says, you didn't see it because you're at the game, but Richard Sherman rightfully blasted the team and DA for calling a timeout to take a knee. Yeah, I also saw Richard Sherman said the way the Saints are playing, they're playing like a team that's trying to get their head coach fired. And look, man, Sherman's seen a lot of crap in the NFL. When he sees it, it speaks volumes. Way more than when I say it, right? Richard Sherman's been on a Super Bowl caliber team with the Seahawks and a Super Bowl caliber team with the Niners. He's seen a lot. Boston Ballfont says, what would your first 3 moves be if you became the Saints GM tomorrow? Firing Dennis Allen, no doubt about it. I am trying to trade some of my vets. And honestly, I think that for me, you got to make a decision at quarterback. If you feel like you've seen enough from Spencer Rattler and he's not it, scrap him out of the plans. If you're not sure about Haener, play Haener for a little bit. And if you're not sure about that, then you just ride it out with Derek Carr. But I think the most important ones are A, firing the head coach, and B, getting rid of these vets, man. What are they going to do for your team at this point? Brian says, fire Dennis Allen. You're not alone there, Brian. Another fire DA comment here. Forgive says, if DA isn't fired tonight, DA and Mickey relationship is, if DA isn't fired tonight, DA and Mickey's relationship is way deeper than football. Look, I know there's a lot of admiration and respect, and I get that. And I think for football, more than any other sport, there needs to be that love out there because you play and coach such a physical game. And there's a lot of hours, man, put way behind the scenes that any of us will know about. But, enough's enough. And loyalty, loyalty's good in life. I understand that. But when loyalty ends up making you look stupid, it's not worth being loyal. It's just not. And I think that's where the Saints are heading. Blake says, got to trade players, swag, and get what value there is. Margaret says, Saints need a fire sale and get rid of what they can for picks, then get rid of Allen / Loomis and all the strength and nutrition personnel. Man, look, medical staff, I don't know what it is, and I keep saying it. I don't know anything about medicals. I am strictly a guy out here trying to run a podcast that hopefully you guys enjoy. I don't know about medicals. All I know, though, is that the Saints have way too many injuries, and it doesn't seem normal that a third of their roster is banged up. That just seems insane to me. Jack says, don't go to another game, Chris. I'm going to be truthful with you guys. I've been to a good amount of Saints games in my life, a lot when they play in New York and now a couple now in New Orleans. I've never witnessed the Saints win live. So I would say I am at fault, but you guys know I'm not at fault. This is Dennis Allen's fault. It's not my fault. I'm not going down for this one. Tobias says this team quit and they don't want to play for DA. I'm glad Richard Sherman pointed out because DA is the worst head coach in the league. Eric says the announcers on Amazon Prime are saying this team quit on Dennis Allen. They wouldn't be wrong. Miss Paneco says tonight was the death of the New Orleans Saints. It felt that way, man. Tavia says Whitworth and Sherman pointed out the team pretty much quit on Dennis Allen. Yeah, and those are Super Bowl caliber players. Got a super chat here from Space African Jesus says, fun fact, Dennis Allen could win his next 24 games in a row and still have below 500 record for his career. You know, I didn't put out the tweet. I usually update you guys on his record. So he just did this, which is lovely. And thank you for the support and the fun fact. But yeah, he is now 26-51. 26-51. Could you imagine doing your job well a third of the time and being able to continue having your job? That doesn't seem normal. But for the Saints, they've kind of made it seem acceptable. And I know we all said he was bad with the Raiders. Here's his second chance. Let's take the Raiders out of the picture, right? He is now, I believe, doing the math, I'm a little slow here right now, 5 games under 500 as a head coach of the Saints. So spare me the Raiders excuse. He's just a losing head coach. That's just the truth of the matter. Mitchell says, I don't think this is at all a DA thing. He's got to be better, obviously, as the head coach. But like this roster is top heavy. It's like a bad Jenga tower, one wrong pull, and the season just gone. It's not all on DA. I 1000% agree with you. The roster construction is not great, whether that's missed draft picks, the cap situation, guys not developing, all of that 1000% factors into that. But what I will say is for this team, someone needs to take the fall. And I think for them, it has to, without a doubt, be your head coach at this point because guys look they don't want to play for him. So it's got to be the move. And maybe it's unfair to a certain extent, but what else can you do right now? You can't just draft guys. You got to wait till April. You can't just sign guys. You got to wait till March. You can't just get a new head coach yet. You got to wait till February, January. What you can do at this moment is fire Dennis Allen. It's the one move you can make. Tobias says the Saints front office has all the evidence they need to need that DA sucks. He called a timeout with 3 seconds left just to kneel down. Yeah, it's a joke, man. DA on Thursday night does some wild stuff. Margaret says Hayner should start next week. He looked a lot better than Rattler. Honestly, guys, would not disagree at all. I don't want to write the kid's story off yet, but Spencer Rattler looked really, really bad tonight. And you can say the O-line's bad and this and that. Pocket awareness is very important. And Spencer's pocket awareness tonight was some of the worst pocket awareness I've seen from an NFL quarterback. Doesn't mean he can't fix it. The kid's still young. He's got time, but it wasn't good. X says Dennis Allen has got to be better. Dennis Allen has got to be fired. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about that, right? I mean, what else can we say? Got another chat here for Space African Jesus member for 7 months says, hey, Chris, love the show. Glad you got to go to the Dome, especially on Breeze Night. My condolences for having to witness that sad excuse of a game. It's so funny because you get so many emotions being in that Dome before the game starts. You realize there's no better atmosphere. And this is, look, you could say it's biased, right? A guy that runs a podcast called Straight Up Saints thinks Saints fans are the best. Fine. Sue me for thinking that. But the fan atmosphere is amazing. And the entrances are great. Just having the Who Dat chant before the game starts is amazing. Drew Brees halftime ceremony, amazing. And you feel all these great emotions. To have the rest of all those emotions drowned out by just boring, pathetic football is frustrating. Now, I'm still happy that I was there because, look, man, Brees is my favorite athlete ever. So to see him out there in the Dome getting his due diligence from the crowd means, it's awesome, But yeah, it is pathetic. But I appreciate your support. You're always tuning in. You're always leaving your comments, man. And I absolutely love that. So shout out to you. Debo the God says, the sad part is Sean took it easy on us. LOL crazy. He did. I swear to God, he did. I said at one point, I was in the stands with my friends and I go, Sean could just run the football every play and they could run over this team. And maybe the score won't be that much of a difference. It'll still be 33-3 at the time, right? But it'll look like a manhandling of a performance. So he did let his foot off the gas. There's no question about it. Zachary says, and a super chat from Zachary, so thank you for the support. Zachary says, what's a realistic timeline for a rebuild? I think if they can stockpile picks and free up money for more depth, we could be in a good spot. All I can tell you guys, and it's an easy answer, it's a cop-out answer, but it's the right answer. There is no set timeline for a rebuild. I've seen the Jets spend decades to rebuild. I've seen the Jaguars now rebuild to think that they got it right to now being stuck in a rebuild. I've seen the Cleveland Browns rebuild just to all of a sudden enter another rebuild. And I've seen the Texans, who looked to be in the worst spot in one offseason, get to Miko Ryans and CJ Stroud, and they're a Super Bowl contender. So long story short, to your really, really great question, Zachary, there is no actual timeline because the NFL is unpredictable. The Saints can get their coach and draft their quarterback this year, and all of a sudden, in 2 years from now, the Saints can be a playoff team, a contending team, or they can whiff and they can look like the Panthers, and we can be dealing with another 5 years of gloom. So there is no actual great timeline to put out there. All I can tell you guys is it can be as bad as you can expect, but it could also be way better than you can expect, because if the Saints do pick top 5 and they do get their head coach that they want, and he's the right coach, they could turn this thing around and fly. So I just think we got to hope that they get the right guy. Got another super chat here from Half-Life. Thank you so much for the support again. I really, really greatly appreciate it. He says, Chris, Nick Underhill tweeted, DA said he's not worried about his job. Unserious, man, for fuck's sake. Well, I don't know what he's going to say. And all I will say, guys, is usually the people that say they're not worried about their job know that they're about to get fired. I think of Robert Saleh. I think of Nick Sirianni. I mean, he's a coach being on the hot seat and getting ready to fire too. I think of Doug Peterson. He said he's not worried about his job. I promise you guys, I know this is straight up Saints, not straight up Jaguars. If the Jaguars lose Sunday, he's fired, and he made the exact same comment DA made. So I wouldn't read into that too much. DA's not going to go to the podium and go, you got me, guys. I got to get fired. I would shake his fucking hand if he said that, because that'd be the first honest thing he ever said as the coach of the Saints. But, what is he supposed to say? It is unserious, but what is he supposed to say? X now, a member for 8 months. Man, thank you so much for the support. Says Dennis Allen needs to be fired for ruining Drew Brees' night more than anything. Yes. Look, would I have loved to see a win on Drew Brees' night? Absolutely. The one thing you cannot do, and the one thing I would not have accepted, and the one thing none of us Saints fans would have accepted, is to get embarrassed on Drew Brees' night. And yet, God damn it, Dennis Allen, you son of a gun, you did just that. Aced it with flying colors. So, woof, man. This is the version of the Saints that we're stuck with. All right, so let's get into more comments here. Let's see what we got. Fred says, it's really not the fact that we lost. It's the fact that this sorry excuse for a defensive coach can't even field a defense that keeps it close. Get his ass out of here. You are not wrong about that. Eric says, Loomis needs to go also. It was his hire. When the general manager says it's not about wins and losses, he needs to be fired. Bayou Boys 504 says, I guess let's get back healthy. Let's start there. Screw all that. Screw all that for them to get back healthy, win a couple games at the end of the year, finish 6-11, and then go, well, when Dennis Allen had his guys healthy, his record wasn't that bad. I don't want to hear it. Like, if the Saints are going to reach that point where they got to lose every game for them to realize that they got to make changes, then so be it. Again, I don't root for the Saints to lose. I will never root for the Saints to lose. But if that is the route that it's going to take, then that's the route it's going to take. But to win games that are going to end up being meaningless, to just prolong the inevitable and make us suffer longer, not for that, man. Forgive says, get the new coach in now while we have 10 days. I mean, yeah. Tony sarcastically says, we got to look beyond the results, though. So sorry for all the guys who went in the dome and saw this humiliation. I am one. Chunk says, Dennis the Menace Allen called a timeout to take a knee. You're damn right he did. Forgive says, Chris DA had included himself in going to LA to play the Chargers. What the F? I mean, he hasn't been fired yet, so he might have to lace up at this point, because don't look like his players want to play on the field, so maybe he's got to put some cleats on and get out there. Logan says, look at the entire league. What team is healthy? In the metaverse, if the Saints would have lost to the Chiefs, Andy Reid never would have blamed their depleted offense for a loss. DA is a loser. Look, the injuries are a part of it. I will never say that the injuries aren't a part of it. But the Saints are not as depleted on defense. They're missing Pete Werner. They're not on offense where they're missing Lucas Patrick, Eric McCoy, Cesar Ruiz, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Taysom Hill, Derek Carr, every freaking person on offense. You are missing one of your linebackers, a good player, but one of your linebackers, and your defense cannot stop the run, cannot stop the pass, cannot tackle. They can't do the fundamentals. So what does it matter about health if your team can't do the easy things? So yeah, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. Ed says, DA just said he's not worried about his job. He must have pics of Loomis and Miss Benson. Oh, that's crazy. I'm not going to finish that comment, but I don't think it's that. I know there's going to be people speculating, but I know for a fact it's not that. Bio Boys 504 said, Dennis just said we're really hurt, and it's not an excuse, but it's a big problem. Yeah, that's a loser's mentality. Loser's mentality, man. I hate that. I absolutely hate that. Let's see what else we got. X says, fire Goodell. I mean, well, at this point, we can't blame Goodell for this one. We can blame him for a lot of things, not for this one. Ryan says, dead ass, y'all, this is literally going to be a 3 to 5 year rebuild. This is so sad. It's possible. It's possible. Forgive says he keeps bringing up the injuries, but the injuries are on offense, not defense. This is the worst defense the NFL has seen in years. Guys, the Broncos took it easy on the Saints, and they had almost 400 yards of offense. They had 225 rushing yards. They had a quarterback who really couldn't hit the side of a barn, but they moved the ball, man. 6.4 yards per play, 22 first downs, decently efficient on third down. How many sacks did the Saints have on Bo Nix? 0. So, yeah, I mean, loser's mentality from Dennis Allen and this team. They don't do anything right at this point. X says it's fine. Everybody, the Pelicans are going to save us. I hope so, man. I hope in a couple months from now, or not a couple months from now, basketball season's about to start a couple weeks from now, we'll listen to Pro Pels talk, and we're enjoying the Pelican success. That is what I'm hoping for, because all I can tell you guys right now is we've reached the point with the Saints where it's not going to get better if they keep DA every week. We're just going to keep seeing the same shit over and over again. And I think they're going to have to get to the point where they have one of those Brandon Staley losses last year where the Chargers almost lost by like 50 or 60 points. And the owner's like, well, we got to fire him now, right? Because we can't keep losing games by 60. That's just deplorable. So I think that's what we're reaching. Jack says, if it wasn't for the fact that you and Drew were at the game, I would have been okay if Bane arrived and blew the field up. Jesus Christ. I mean, look, man. I was at the game and I would have been okay with it at that point with the way it's gone, man. I was manically laughing during the end of the fourth quarter. You know, you got like the automated move them chains thing going on, and this team had 3 points at that time. It's just embarrassing. Got another super chat here from KGB412. Thank you so much for the support. We greatly appreciate it. That's awesome. Thank you for tuning in and giving us some love. Lamiro says, everyone over the age of 31 needs to be removed from players to personnel to the effing water boy, the oldest team in the league with supposedly high IQ and can't do a damn thing a sports team should. Yeah, I mean, like I said, guys, they cannot do the easy things right, you know? Tackling, just, first off, special teams, let's just not return anymore with Rashid. If they're giving you 30 yards of touchback, just do that. Let's do that. Let's play it simple because the offense is going to go backwards. So you might as well at least start at the 30, you know? Jonah says, how can you spend so many resources on the O-line and D-line and those units still suck ass? Well, here's the thing, right? When you miss on Isaiah Foskey and you miss on Peyton Turner, that sets you back. You sign Chase Young. He's been useless. It's tough, man. It is tough sledding for this team. So many assets have been wasted for them. Got another super chat here from YouTube user. Thank you so much for the support. Says, give Sean Payton this roster. They're a playoff team. I mean, with these injuries, maybe not. But I'll tell you what. They win the Eagles game. They win the Falcons game. You're looking different. You're looking 4-2 going into this one. So either way, you'd be a much better team with Sean Payton. So I get your point. No doubt about it. And Sean Payton wouldn't have brought in Derek Carr, so you would have saved some money on that. Yeah, it would have looked different. But that's also why people are salty with Sean, and I understand it. David says, how about that Spencer Rattler? Yeah, he was god-awful. Look, man, let's call a spade a spade. We're going to dunk on Derek Carr when he's terrible. I know it's different because Derek Carr's an 11-year veteran, and Spencer Rattler's only played 2 games. Spencer Rattler was terrible today. And I know it's garbage time, but Jake Haener looked comfortable in one drive. It's one drive, but Jake Haener looked comfortable. Spencer Rattler looked rattled. And that is the downside of playing a young quarterback with this circumstance, right? You can damage them for good. And maybe Spencer Rattler never will be good. but you put them in a really bad spot from the beating they take both mentally and physically being in this situation. Got a super chat from KGB412. Thank you for the support. It says, give Ben Johnson a blank check for head coach. Love the show. First off, thank you for that comment. We really appreciate your support, and I'm glad you do appreciate the show. As for the Ben Johnson comment, yeah, give him a blank check. Let's do this, man. All for it. All for giving Ben Johnson a blank check. But if you're going to give Ben Johnson a blank check, got to get his quarterback, and you got to splurge on some weapons. I can't stress enough. Even if Shaheed was healthy and Olave was healthy and Taysom was healthy, the Saints need more weapons, guys. They don't have enough at tight end. They don't have enough at wide receiver, like wide receiver 3 and down. Don't have enough at running back. So they need more depth. But yeah, getting Ben Johnson would be a tremendous start for this team in terms of just getting on the right track, at least. That's the way I see it, you know? See what else we have here. Ali Ray says, no effort. Can't understand how an entire team could just mentally and emotionally check out like that. Didn't even try to help their new QB. I mean, it's simple, right? You lose 5 games in a row. It's pretty easy to check out. I'm not saying it's right. It's not right, but it's easy to see how that happens, right? Because this is a veteran team. A lot of guys have poured a lot of just years into this game to start 2-0, feel like, maybe we might be sneaky good this year. You lose a heartbreaker over the Eagles. Okay, fine. Regroup against the Falcons. You lose a heartbreaker against the Falcons. Okay, now you play the Chiefs. You're 2-2. You got to win that game. No, you get embarrassed. Okay, what do you do at home against the Bucs? You get demolished. What do you do now against the Broncos? Demolished again. Easy to check out. It's easy. When you're not incentivized to do your job and to win, it's easy to check out. What do they have to fight for right now? They don't love their head coach. They're 2-5 now. The season's over. You know, we could put a nail in the coffin about playoffs. That's done. So I could see it, man. Marcus says, let's sign a paper to get Dennis Allen out of New Orleans. I mean, I would gladly sign that right now, man. Red Joseph says, bitter that this wasn't a 33-3 loss. Breeze was robbed of MVPs, Super Bowls, and proper honors. I mean, Breeze was robbed of a lot. The Saints said this week, honoring the GOAT. And a lot of people were like, excuse me, why would you call him the GOAT? Look, you won't understand if you didn't watch Saints football that this goddamn guy would go out there, throw for 5,000 yards, put the team on his back, put them in position to win, and would lose because he wouldn't have a good defense. And for everyone going, oh, the yards, you rack it up. Okay, cool. We added another game to the regular season, and guys are struggling to get 5,000 yards. So what do you have to say about that now? As for the score-wise, 33-3 and 33-10, I don't really think it makes a difference, guys. Had the Saints fought back and they lost 33-23, maybe it makes a difference. But 33-10, and it was a Jake Haener touchdown pass to Cedric Wilson with 1 minute and 20 seconds left, I promise you guys, I know why you'd be concerned. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't change a damn thing for this team. They're still a mess. They're still embarrassing. So I think that's kind of, that is irrelevant to me, the score-wise. Trade Kamara, he doesn't deserve this. I agree. Moment says it's time to break the team up and let people walk that don't deserve this. Couldn't agree more. Let's see what we got going on. Too Short says, are they tanking besides the injuries? No, I don't think they're going to. I mean, they can't tank, right? I mean, Dennis Allen can't tank. He's coaching for his job. And if he's allowed to tank and then pick the next quarterback, fuck out of here. I mean, that's where you would completely destroy this team. But to this point, they've quit on him, so they don't have to worry about that. Let's see what else we got. Ed says, Rattler showed why he's a 5th-round pick. Hard to disagree with that one, Ed. Hard to disagree with that. He was horrendous tonight. And again, I know he was a rookie. I know he's a rookie, but he was horrendous. Absolutely horrendous tonight. Vincent A., utter disgrace from top to bottom. Hashtag fire Dennis. You are damn right, Vin. Absolute disgrace. Absolute disgrace. Chung says a head coach is responsible for the entire team, not just the defense. Yeah, I know. But that's the thing for Dennis Allen, right? The excuse for him was always, okay, but the defense is always good under Dennis Allen. Well, the defense stinks now under Dennis Allen. The offense stinks. They look just absolutely lifeless out there. They look like they're showing up to jury duty. They come in, I got to get my check, I got to do my job, and then I'm getting the hell out of here. That's what they're doing right now. And it's a shame that that's what's happened, you know? Scoot Bundy says, I swear they actually called, and I heard AK, Hot Mike, say, just knee it. I mean, they should have. They should have. The fact that they did what they did at the end of the first half is nuts. It's just only an idiot would come up with that. But guess what, guys? Dennis Allen is an idiot. Got another super chat here from YouTube user. Said, Sean Payton almost went to the playoffs with Trevor Siemian at QB in 2021. Yeah, Sean went from Jameis Winston to Trevor Siemian to Taysom Hill And then back to Trevor Siemian in the last game against the Falcons, and had the Rams not blown a double-digit lead against the Niners in the regular season finale, they would have made the playoffs. So yes, injuries are a part of the game, and they can be a reason for why the Saints are struggling. But Sean Payton and the Saints won 9 games that year, despite losing everyone. Everyone got hurt. Alvin got hurt. Taysom got hurt. Michael Thomas got hurt. Jameis got hurt. Marshawn, I think, missed time that year too, but he misses time almost every year at this point. They lost a lot of guys to injury. They had a game where they didn't even have enough players because of COVID, and Ian Book had to start, and that was a disaster, and they almost made the playoffs that year. So spare me the excuses, Dennis Allen. Spare me the excuses, because I'm not buying any of them. Tobias says Adebo broke his femur. I don't even know how that happens. I hope the earth-shattering injuries can end after this season. I hope they end too. And how about for Adebo, man? Just, that's a gut punch. Contract year, you're going to get paid. That's tough. Cat Terrell reported that DA agreed with Richard Sherman. He says he doesn't believe the team quit. Pretty cut and dry in his response. I mean, what is he going to say at this point? You know, I will go back and listen to all that, though. I mean, once we're done with this show, I will go look at all of DA's comments. Maybe I'll do it, now and look at some of them as well. What is he supposed to say, What is he supposed to say? But I'll tell you a damning comment that I just found. Alvin said he's never seen fans clear out of the Superdome the way they did tonight. End quotes. I get it. I would leave too. That is such an indictment on what this team has become. And that's why I'm telling you guys, I do think the mood has shifted. I know the Saints keep trying to make, excuses. I think the mood has shifted, and I believe this was the death blow, the final death blow to Dennis Allen getting fired. Now the question is, when are they going to do it? Hopefully, it is tomorrow morning. And I said, guys, I'm technically on vacation. Fuck that. I would rather be doing a 2-hour live stream talking about Dennis Allen getting fired tomorrow, because they got to start somewhere. This would at least make those guys in the locker room realize that you have to fight. You have to be accountable for your actions. So hopefully that's what we get. Miss Leah says, I feel bad for you guys that bought tickets for our future games. I mean, look, the Dome's still awesome. Look, the product's not going to be good, but the Dome's still awesome. Ninth Ward says, how can anyone blame Rattler? He was led to slaughter. I don't think it's about blaming Rattler. I think there's a difference between blaming Rattler and saying he was bad tonight. To blame Rattler for this loss, no. This is a full-on team, top-to-bottom loss. But Rattler was bad, and it's okay to say that. It's okay to say that he struggled. He looked really uncomfortable. It's okay to say that, Caden says, I'm fine with Loomis selling pieces, but I didn't want him making any more draft picks or roster decisions past that. That's fine. Chris Connor says, let the corpse that is Javonte Williams look like Clinton Portis. Before the game started, my friends were talking about Javonte, and we're like, man, he really has been disappointing. I said, look, if there's a day for Javonte Williams to ball out, it is tonight, because the Saints can't stop the run. And 88 yards, 2 touchdowns on only 14 carries. Have yourself a day. Sack King Superfan says, I feel very sad as a Saints fan, man. Don't we all? T-Mama says this team is bad. They are, T-Mama. Logan says, Chris on a vacation and still doing a live stream. If DA gets fired is why I'm here. Respect. Look, man, I promise you guys, whatever I have planned for tomorrow, I will drop it immediately to do a live stream if Dennis Allen gets fired. I am so fed up with this dude. I'm so fed up with the DA. I call it error instead of era, because it's been nothing but miss after miss after miss. So hopefully that's the case, man. Miss Leah says 26-51 head coaching record, 5-game losing streak. LMAO. K-Camp says stop going to the games, make Loomis feel it. I mean, you could go to games, but leaving early is going to send a message. Fire Dennis Allen chant's going to send a message. The fact that the opposing team's fan base is taking over your trap, that's going to send a message. So there's other ways that I think that the message will get across, Mo Better says, come on, bro, tell the truth. It's time to call Gail Benson out. Look, you could call everyone out. Gail Benson, you call out Mickey Loomis, call out Dennis Allen, call out everyone. I know, though, that Benson's never going to be on the hot seat. She owns the damn team. So you got to start with the smaller ones. You got to start with Loomis. You got to start with DA. But I know Loomis isn't going to go anywhere. So I got to start with DA. And then you got to hope that they can get the right coach in that isn't going to take shit from Loomis and is going to be assertive the way Sean Payton was, because Loomis and Payton had a great connection. You're going to need to try and cultivate that again. unless Loomis kind of goes up to the presidential role and they get an actual GM, which maybe is possible. But right now, I got to direct my attention towards DA. And the minute that's done, we don't stop. The attention gets directed elsewhere. So you got to start somewhere. And I believe this is where we start. And hopefully it will lead to better change, but I know Gail's a problem. Trust me. I'm not sitting here going to tell you guys that she's not. I know she's a problem. JB says, Alan Kirk made it worse. Basically said Denver had the worst run game in the league. 230 yards later, here we are. Guys, I've watched the Broncos a good amount this season so far because they always play in the window after the Saints. So it's easy, right? You can get a good idea of, what you'll see in that window and what you'll see from this Denver team. They are an anemic offense most of the time. Tonight, they put up 33 easily, and they could have put up more. YouTube user with another super chat. Thank you so much for the support, man. You've been awesome tonight. Says, call the timeout to Neil. What a loser. I can't believe he did that. I can believe he did it, but I can't believe he did it. You know what I mean? Like, if there was a coach to do it, it would be Dennis Allen. But the fact that he actually did it is still mind-blowing. And a rookie quarterback is like, dude, what the hell's wrong with this guy? That's how you know you are in dire straits right now. Got a super chat here from Hashim. Thank you so much for the support, man. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. Appreciate everyone, whether it's your comments or super chats. You guys have been tremendous, and hopefully you guys keep it coming. You guys have been tremendous tonight, man. Awesome. Gio says, who do we even draft? What are the best options? I will get into that in a little bit. I feel like it's still so early, but I know people love McMillan from Arizona if you want to go receiver. If you want to go offensive tackle, which they better not. I know everyone's going to want, Will. Quarterback, who knows? Shador, Quinn Ewers. I'm not a Carson Beck guy. There'll be options, though. There'll be options. X says, y'all, we were a bottom 5 team at the start of the season. Those first 2 games fooled us. Yep. I mean, no doubt. Reggie says, someone got to get their ass beat. Somebody. I mean, the only one getting their ass beat right now are the Saints. Kendall says, if Derek Carr would have played, they would have blamed the whole game on him. Probably. But I think a lot of fans are just fed up with DA2 where he would get the brunt of it. There's no doubt. Red Joseph says, what's worse is some version of the roster over the last few years could have been somewhat successful with a good head coach. It could have. No doubt. Guys, they won 9 games with Dennis Allen last year. They would have won way more with a different coach. Remember how bad that record was? Henry with a super chat here. Thank you so much for the support. Henry says, this loss after 4 back-to-back, Kamara equals Kamara gone next year. Yeah, I do not expect Alvin back next year. I don't have any sources on that. I don't have any scoop to report for you guys. I'm just going off how I think and believe. I believe Alvin will play elsewhere next year, and Alvin deserves a chance to play elsewhere next year. Got a super chat from Carl Marky Marks. Thank you so much for the support. You've been quite supportive throughout our tenure here on the Straight Up Saints podcast. It says, worst day in Saints history besides the no call. This is up there, man. Worst day is hiring Dennis Allen, probably, but man, today was an embarrassment. For Sean to come into the Dome, Saints get embarrassed. You ruined Drew Brees' special night with such a pathetic performance. Just a lot of bad, man. Rose City says 2-6 coming, might end up 2-9 in the next 4. I mean, look what you got next, right? You got the Chargers. I expect that to be a loss. And you got the Panthers. Who the hell knows? Who cares at that point? Falcons, expect a loss. Browns are terrible. Rams, I expect a loss. Giants, I expect a loss. Commanders, a loss. Packers, a loss. I think the Saints are going to win 3, maybe 4 more games this year. So, you got to move on from your coach. Got it. I mean, move on from tonight, please. I'm begging them. Drew Brees didn't retire for this, I guess for this bum to burn it all down. I guess that's what we're going for, but yeah. Brandon says Cam Jordan and DeMario Davis probably thinking about retirement. I mean, they are not looking too good right now. Bay 337 says Deion Sanders' son would be a better pick. I would be fine with Deion Sanders' son, man. I told you guys, Shador's got game. So Brian says we need a new head coach with leadership. No doubt about it. Lemiro says the fucking Super Bowl team at their current age could probably beat this team. I mean, that team would have Drew, so I agree with you. Pace says trade Lattimore will break my heart, but it's the right move. Absolutely. Ben Johnson would be huge. Also that is what she said, but yes, Ben Johnson would be the great hire for the Saints to get an offensive mind like that in the building. So innovative. D says no one's going to want this team, $80 million over the cap and a bunch of injured players. I am worried about that. I am worried that the Saints are just such an unattractive spot for this team. No quarterback. They haven't drafted really well. Not a lot of young talent on this team. Not a lot of financial flexibility. So it's not ideal right now. Well, Wish just says, whatever team AK or Latimer go to, I'm a partial fan of. I will root for them to have success. I won't root for that team, if that makes sense. Mitchell says, if Kendrick would stop trying to DM my F and X and focus on the playbook, he'd maybe be able to get on the field. Ooh, that is spicy. That is quite spicy. If that's accurate, yeah, I mean, tell your ex to tell Kendra to start focusing at practice, because I think Kendra's got some game on the field. Maybe he's got game on the Instagram DMs too. Who the hell knows at this point? But that is the spiciest comment I've seen in a long, long time. Let's keep it rolling here. X says, fire Dennis Allen into the sun. I mean, gladly, please. Gio says, who do we even draft at the top 5 pick? What are the 3 best options? I mean, you need a quarterback. That would be the top one for me. Red Joseph says, I've been here 8 years. I've never seen the dome clear out like that, and I can't blame them. They're fed up. Quote from Alvin Kamara. It's damning, guys. It's damning. From blue to green says, those first 2 games, maybe it was ignorance, but I thought it was looking up. Kubiak calling good plays. Carr finally clicking, but dang it, just disappointing now. I wish they never happened. Because we saw a version of the Saints that made us feel like this could be a fun season. And instead, that got thrown right in our face. And now it's just like they're kind of just shitting in our face every single week, and we just got to take it every time, and it's really frustrating. Got another super chat here. This one comes from Michael. Thank you so much for the support, Michael. He says, I give the GM job to Ireland and hire Ben Johnson. I don't mind that idea. First off, I'm all in on them getting Ben Johnson. I think Ben Johnson would be great for them. But yeah, I mean, Ben Johnson is the top candidate. He's going to have his pick. I don't know if he would pick the Saints, but he'll have his options. As for Jeff Ireland, I don't think it's a bad idea to go to him. So we'll see if they actually do that, but it would not be the worst idea in the world. Danny says Panthers will win this week and Saints will still be 2-5. Ugh. From Blue Degree says, at what point do you fire DA? Like all of us here are so clearly saying now, but if not now, when? Like what the F? I don't know. It's a great question, right? And you have the extended break now, right? Because you played on Thursday, you get the extra weekend. Now is the time to fire him. Tomorrow is the time to fire him. So good point. If not now, when? As long as it happens at the end of the season is what matters. But I am a little worried, right? Like you always get hesitant until it happens. Will it actually happen? That's the question. YouTube user says Ben Johnson and Kubiak. How would that work? Kubiak wouldn't be in the picture. That's the truth of the matter. Ben Johnson's system would come into play. And that's okay, guys, because Ben Johnson is a damn stud of a play caller. Just watching Detroit on a week-to-week basis, they're so exciting. Great question, though, but and thank you for the super chat. But I think it's pretty clear, right? Kubiak out, Ben Johnson would be in. Got another super chat from Machine. Thank you so much for the support, Machine. He says, Hudak got blown out 2 weeks in a row. Rise up. Not only blown out, 84 points given up at home in the last 2 weeks. It's embarrassing, man. It's so embarrassing. But, I mean, that's our version of the Saints right now. That's what we're getting. Jalen says Rattler was good. Jake Hainer has played before and was not good. I mean, I don't know about good. He did not look great out there. Just call me Trey says full rebuild time. Buy Marshawn, buy AK, buy DeMario, buy Honey Badger, buy Adebo, and buy all the other players that that barely play or always hurt. Team has given up, and how sad they embarrassed Drew. I know. Embarrassing Drew on his special night just feels really, really frustrating. Cruz says the state of Louisiana sold their soul for the 2019 LSU Natty. We will never recover. It kind of feels that way, man. It kind of feels that way. Mo says the players played for real the first 2 weeks, then realized if they kept it up, DA would keep his job. I mean, everyone got hurt, and then we realized DA was not going to keep it up, and that's kind of what happened. Fool's gold first 2 weeks. JB says, what happens first? DA gets fired, or Willie Green gets fired, or BI traded? I'm going to go DA gets fired. That's my pick, because I think at some point they're just going to keep getting blown out, and people are going to say, you know what? Enough's enough. You got to make the move, and hopefully the Saints will do that. It's Bear Baby says, why do we not use Kamara as a slot receiver right now with Miller back and go into the backfield and Kamara can get a chance? No receivers tonight. And Kamara got no real touches. It's a fantastic question. I don't have an answer for it, and I wish I did, but it's a fantastic question because you are right. Wiggy says 3 games back in the division without a tiebreaker. Yeah, it's over. Yep. Richard says, what will it take for Mickey to be fired? I don't know. I have no idea. And I really can't answer that question. I have no idea what it would take. I've never thought about it because I feel like it's not a possibility. Richard says, I'm in for the 2-year tank for Arch Manning. Elite show. You're the man, Chris. First off, thank you for that comment. I greatly appreciate it. And thank you for tuning in. You guys have been great. As for Arch Manning, yeah, if you want to get me on the Arch Manning tank bowl, let's do it. But if the Saints are picking top 5 and they like a quarterback, go get it, because you need that optimism. Us fans need it. And if they bring in, let's say they get Ben Johnson. I don't expect it, but let's say they get Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson picking his quarterback next year would be the goal. So that would take precedent over Arch Manning, Cruz says, hire Ben Johnson, draft Sanders. Hope has been restored. I actually think that would restore hope to some degree. It's Bear Baby says, I'd be shocked if DA gets fired. You'd be shocked. If he doesn't get fired, I'll be really, really sad, Nolan says, we're cooked. I truly enjoyed our 2-week Super Bowl. It was a fun 2-week time, wasn't it? Fun 2-week time. JB says, this is what happens when you try and extend another coach's culture instead of establishing your own. You should have brought in a brand new coach once Peyton left. This is on Loomis. The crazy thing is, guys, if Peyton retired a year earlier and they went with Dan Campbell, I think Dan Campbell could have kept things rolling and had the right culture. It comes down to DA just not being a good coach, Jay Rideout says this organization has taken the fun out of watching this team. I mean, hard to disagree with you on that one, man. Forgive says it's going to be extremely sad seeing Alvin and Marshawn leave. They were the only 2 left from the legendary draft. It will be really sad. Rojo Fish says, Gail has been a great owner and signs any check they ask of her. Loomis is taking advantage of her and isn't being held accountable. He's been lazy and sloppy lately. I mean, yeah, he's getting heat from the fans. I mean, I think that's on full display, no doubt about it. Ed says this is what makes not winning a chip between 2017 and 2020 more infuriating. Ed, I could not agree more with you. If the Saints just won one more ring during that span, I'm not going to lie to you guys, I would not be as animated about how much I can't stand Dennis Allen. Because I'd be like, hey, I witnessed 2 rings in a 15-year span. I'm chilling. But we didn't. All we got was heartbreak. And that one damn hurts a ton, Jaden says, it's over, man. Yeah, I mean, no doubt. I mean, I've been saying season's over. Benjamin says, was this the worst loss we'll take all this year? I mean, where do we go from here? Never say never with Dennis Allen. It can always get worse. So, guys, I'll get into more comments from you in just a minute or two. Before I do that, I want to get a quick word from one of our sponsors, DraftKings Sportsbook.
TD, Tutty, taking it to the house, whatever you call a touchdown. They matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Ready to place your first NFL bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score a touchdown. Ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? To do so, you have to score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code BOOT. That's code BOOT, BOOT, for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at nfl.com/terms.
Once again, thank you to DraftKings Sportsbook for being part of the program. We greatly appreciate it. We're going to keep it rolling here on the Straight Up Saints podcast inside the Scott McNair studios here. Saints, like I mentioned before, 33-10. They are now 2-5. The fact that they've gone from 2-0 to 2-5 this quickly is quite depressing, but such is life. Let's keep it going. Henry said, if we had chosen Dan Campbell instead of DA, we wouldn't be in this mess. God damn it, Henry, you are right, and I wish you weren't, but you are right. Saint for Life says, problem is the Saints are so screwed up with their cap and still on the hook for all these bad contracts this year. 2026, the cap will be better unless they make any more boneheaded moves. 2026 is the year where they gain financial freedom. You are right about that. It's going to be one more kind of, year of suffering, I guess, would be the case financially. But if they get the right coach, and let's say they draft a quarterback, even though next year they won't be aggressive in free agency, you will get the vibe switch. You will feel like hope is restored, but that's what they need. And if they don't do that, then yeah, you feel like you're stuck. Like, I don't want to see DA next year. I don't want to see Derek Carr next year. Honestly, guys, I don't want to see Rattler. I don't want to see Hayner. I want a new quarterback, a top-tier quarterback, draft prospect, and a new coach. And that will restore some hope for this team. Nicholas says the DA error has been bad, but it just feels like today is the day the music died. It does feel like that, right? It really does feel like that. Chase says Dennis Allen gets fired. I mean, that's what we're hoping for, Chase. Sci-Fi X says Hubbard is the third leading rusher in the NFL at this point. Panthers can beat us. Panthers can absolutely beat them. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. With the way the Saints have been playing, they've been playing worse than the Panthers. Got another super chat here from YouTube. User says, least we're good on Madden 25. LOL, I fired DA week 1. I mean, shout out to you for firing DA week 1. Are the Saints actually good in Madden, though? Honest question. I don't play Madden anymore. Last time I played Madden, Odell Beckham was on the cover in a Giants jersey, so I may have just dated myself with my Madden skills. But are they actually good in Madden? Like, I find that hard to believe, but kudos to you that you fired Dennis Allen. Also, kudos to you for being awesome with these super chats. You've been tremendous. Gonna keep it going here with Rosenfield 10 says defense giving up 500 rushing yards in the last 2 games. Wow, did we just play Barry Sanders and Walter Payton? I love the sarcasm because it's well deserved there. James says fire DA, promote Kubiak to head coach, and hire Robert Saleh as interim defensive coordinator for the rest of the season. Then next season's defensive coordinator. I mean, I don't think they'll make all those moves. I think you probably fire DA. They'd probably make Joe Woods the DC. Whoever gets the interim tag, obviously, is your interim. I think Rizzy would get the interim tag, though. By the way, I want interim tag to go to Rizzy if that's what they do, if they fire DA. Let Kubiak continue to work on OC and try to get better. You know, I still think he has work to be done at offensive coordinator. Mo says, I wish Sean didn't wait for all our good coaches to leave the building before he quit on us. DC, Dan Campbell, would probably be our head coach right now since he was the assistant head coach under Sean. You are right about that. Literally was just saying, as bad as we are, most effed up part about it is we have nothing to look forward to. And by the time something great happens, half the team will already be retired. Yep. You're right. Jay Rideout says, do we still look past the results after this? LOL. Can't believe Loomis said that. It's so funny because it's like, I understand the concept of saying don't look at just like the win-loss thing. Because like, for example, right? Take the New York Giants. Anyone who watched the Giants last week would have realized they lost that game strictly because Daniel Jones stinks. They played great defense. They held Joe Burrow in check for most of the game. Their playmakers made some nice plays on the perimeter, but they lost because of Daniel Jones. If you want to say don't look at the results for that, cool. But when the Saints are bad on offense, Dennis Allen's defense is getting smoked. They gave up 600 yards of offense last week. They gave up over 200 rushing yards to the Broncos this week. They've given up 84 points in the last 2 weeks, and they've lost 5 games in a row. How can you not look at the results? It's just such a crazy comment. Justin says, am I the only one not high on Sanders? No, I think he's very split, right? Like, I think he's so polarizing. I could see him being a great quarterback. I could also see him being a bust. Like, he's very hit or miss. He's polarizing for that reason. Saint for Life says trade deadline is coming up. Saints should offer any player on the roster for trade and just stockpile picks. I agree. OG says there's no leadership anywhere in the organization. It definitely feels that way right now. Saint for Life says Chargers going to put up 40 plus on this team. Just watch. I don't know about 40 plus, but I do think they're going to run all over them. J.K. Dobbins will go crazy, you know? Matthew says, what players do you even keep to build around? Olave Shaheed, Lante Taylor, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Pete Werner, since you extended him, Carl Granderson, Eric McCoy, Fuaga, Trevor Penning. I am running out of names. Eric McCoy. Yeah, I'm kind of running out of names at that point. They don't got a whole lot. Brian Brzee, you know, they're probably like 12 guys that I would build around. Cruz says, we all know Dennis Allen is going to be on the Denver staff when he gets fired. Maybe? Vance Joseph's cooking right now, man. He's got that defense cooking. Michael says, broken femur for Paulson Debo per Dennis Allen. Yeah, brutal news for him in a contract year, man. I wish him all the best. I hope he has a speedy and a full recovery. Jaden says, honestly, O-line has to get rid of everyone. So y'all think the O-line has to be rebuilt? So y'all don't think the O-line has to be rebuilt. I mean, O-line has to get better, but like when McCoy comes back, they're going to have 3 quality linemen. If Ruiz comes back and plays healthy, it's 4 quality linemen. I don't think the O-line is that far off. I do think they're going to need another guard, but I don't think the O-line's as far off as we thought coming into the year. It's Bear Baby says Olave is a good receiver. I remember a few years back when he got drafted, I said we should have grabbed Olave and Jamison Williams, and we ended up with Penning and Olave, so there's that. I mean, look, guys, Penning actually hasn't been god-awful this year. He's been playing better. Got another super here from YouTube user, says Dennis Aslin. LOL, love the show, bro. Keep it up. Thank you for the chuckle, man. I kind of needed that, man. But Dennis Allen has become Dennis Aslan, and what else can you do? This is the team that he's kind of built out in his image, and it's a disappointment that it's become that way. Jose says Drew Brees coach ? I've interviewed Brees 3 times. I've asked him all 3 times, would he ever coach the Saints in any capacity? All 3 times he told me no with a smile. So I don't think it's happening. It's Bear Baby says Fuaga is one man. He's great, but we need more. Look, guys, Penning is developing. When McCoy comes back, you will have your center who's a stud. Ruiz is not great, but like you could do worse than Ruiz. You need a left guard. Again, they need work on the O-line. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think the O-line is as far off as they were, or at least we thought they were 6 months ago, right? I mean, think about it. 3/5 of their O-line is not playing right now, so they're going to need help there. Jaden says defensive line as well, trash. Totally agree with that. I think we need to focus on line play and weapons right now. Drafting a QB is 2 seasons away. Drafting a QB is never a season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, 4 seasons away. It's all about, do you love the prospect? I've always been a big believer in that. If you love the guy, go get your guy. Now, if he's not in this draft class, then you wait. But if he is in this draft class, go for it, man. Go for it. Louisiana Dog says, we haven't won a game Drew attends. Yeah, I know. And they always get killed when he attends. I feel bad for him. John says, hate to rain on the Rattler Parade experiment. Haener is much superior and should start until Derek can play. I kind of think if Derek can't start next week, they'll go with Haener. I kind of feel that way. Trey says, what's worse, the defense or the offense? I mean, I'm going to go defense because the offense right now is missing almost all their starters. What's the excuse for the defense? You know, offense is missing starting quarterback, starting left guard, starting center, starting right guard, starting wide receiver 1, starting wide receiver 2, and their Swiss Army knife and Taysom Hill. So I'd go defense is worse. I've never seen Kamara that mad in a game before. That's how you know it's bad. It's totally bad, you know? Our offense is crazy trash. The O-line is so weak. Did you see Young getting manhandled? I mean, look, it's, again, I'm not saying this O-line is great right now. They are injured by all means. But healthy, I think the O-line will get better. Rosenfield 10 says, I'm not a fan of the QB class for 2025. Shador Sanders, Jalen Milroe, Cam Ward, Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers, Nussmeier, Moss, Drew Aller. I mean, yeah, I don't love the draft class, but you know what? I remember when people loved the draft class with Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, and one of them is still a starter. And even him, he's been kind of disappointing of late. So you just never know. William Johnson says, Chiefs fan here eating popcorn. I mean, look, Chiefs fans, you guys are chilling. You guys have the best quarterback in the league, the best coach in the league, the best defensive play caller in the league. You guys are chilling, man. So by all means, can't wait for Sunday's game, though. Chiefs Niners, I hope that's a fun one, man. Trey says, Swifty fan here. Hashim says, Saints fans week 2. We're going to Super Bowl. Saints fan week 7. Fire the coach and GM. I just want to say, Hashim, we have always been fire the coach, even when they were playing well. But yeah, now it's like the season's over. That shift has happened, you know? Matthew says, who do you got winning the Super Bowl this year? I don't even want to think about this sorry-ass team right now. I still think Chiefs, but if not Chiefs, I'm going to go Buffalo. I don't like the NFC this year. I don't. I really liked the way the Lions are playing, but I think without Aiden Hutchinson, that kind of puts a nail in the coffin. Niners haven't looked the same, but you know, if the Niners beat the Chiefs this week, that might change the momentum of their season. Eagles, Sirianni's a clown. Don't trust them. Cowboys are a mess. Commanders are not ready. Packers maybe can be competitive. But right now, I'd say Chiefs, Bills, Texans, Ravens in the AFC. NFC, I don't trust anyone in the NFC right now at all. Kevin says, as soon as Brees kids go to college, we'll start looking at coaching jobs at either the college or NFL level. Possible, man. Possible. Lake Show says, so no one in that locker room is going to be that guy to tell Cam Jordan it's over? I mean, it's probably a tough conversation to have, right? I can't imagine. Forgive says the D-line needs a complete overhaul, even Granderson. Well, Granderson's a good piece, but he should not be the star of the show, and yet he is the star of the show. So that is a problem for them right now, and I just don't see how you can have that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, but I do agree. They got to get better D-line talent. Not enough right now. I think Granderson and Brzee are probably the only building blocks at the moment. Justin says, you don't trust Minnesota, ? I don't trust Sam Darnold fully yet. He's gaining my trust week to week. I trust Kevin O'Connell. I trust Brian Flores. But at some point, Darnold's going to be asked to make the big throw. Will he make the big throw? That's the question. I hope he does. I love this Sam Darnold redemption story. But that's why I'm a little hesitant about them, you know, when it comes to the NFC. Showtime says we lose when Drew shows up. I mean, yeah, that's a fact. John says Derek was leading most NFL stat categories until he got hurt. Gave us a lead with 2 minutes to go in Eagles and Falcons game. Now we know defense is the culprit. I mean, defense is definitely to blame right now. Jaden says Cam Jordan's getting cooked. Cam Jordan's been cooked the whole season, unfortunately, man. Whole season. Matthew says, at least we are past the point of false hope. Those few losses after where it felt like we could still be the playoffs were so painful. Now it's just a write-off. Yep. Jaden says, honestly, you got to just let Cam know it's over. It's a sad convo, but come on, man. I'm sure that conversation can be had at the end of the year. He literally is just getting cardio, and it sucks because Cam's an all-time Saint guy. He will deserve his moment, where he gets that kind of ceremony that Drew had today. Maybe not to the fullest extent because Drew is the greatest to ever shoot up for the franchise, but he will get his moment. I just don't know, how big it will be. Hashim says, I want to see the Falcons win it all in New Orleans. I bet you do, Hashim, but I'll tell you what, it's not going to happen. Sorry, man. Tasia says, what happened to this team? It's ridiculous. I mean, Dennis Allen happened. Front office happened. The draft picks not hitting happened. Injuries happened. Quarterback play happened. Defensive line being bad happened. No run defense happened. So many things. Jaden says, do you really believe DA will be let go midseason? I do. I know the Saints haven't fired a coach midseason, but I do believe they will get rid of him. And I'm going to end it on this, actually, because we've had a great, about 75 minutes here of us ranting and ranting and complaining. I do believe they will get rid of him after this, in the middle of the season, because I think at some point, the NFL, what you put out on the field matters. And what the Saints have put out on the field right now is the type of product that is deplorable. They look like they've given up on their coach. They are getting embarrassed at home. They've lost 5 games in a row with no end in sight to this losing streak. So, yeah, I believe at some point, Mickey will have to pull the plug mid-season, because if he keeps it going, people will just keep checking out more and more. And if the team starts checking out and they keep getting blown out and no one is showing up to the games, what are you going to do? You're going to keep letting that fester? They'll get rid of DA midseason. I feel strong about that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm naive. I believe that they are going to get rid of him. So without further ado, that brings me into my closing argument for this episode of the Straight Up Saints podcast. And our closing argument is presented by Scott McNair. And as I mentioned before, we had this lovely podcast from the Scott McNair studio on this Thursday night. Guys, I will put it as simply as this. If the Saints do not fire Dennis Allen within the next 2 weeks, if they don't fire him within the next 24 hours, they slapped us all in the face. It's that simple. We've seen enough. We've been put up with enough. It is time for them to get rid of Dennis Allen and at least see if this team has a backbone, some type of backbone with DA out of the picture. We'll get an answer about some of these guys, but players have checked out. They looked lifeless, and they looked ready for the offseason. They looked ready for Cancun when we haven't even hit November, and that's a damn problem. So it is time to fire Dennis Allen, and if that happens, you guys know I will be here to cover it on the Straight Up Saints podcast. The destination for the Who Dat Nation. Want to wish you guys a great Thursday night, a great upcoming weekend, and thank you all for the super chats, the comments, the subscribers, all that. You guys were tremendous, and I do promise you we will have more content. Maybe even tomorrow if he gets fired. Fingers crossed. But if not, we'll have more coming up this weekend and then next week here on the Straight Up Saints podcast. The destination for the Who Dat Nation. Have a great night, everyone.